The Cerebral Entertainment Podcast.
Hi, we're back.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to yet another riveting edition of the Cerebral Entertainment Podcast. I am James, and with me, as always, is my good friend Colt.
Absolutely.
How you doing, sir? How's the stevia?
Stevia's good. Zevia.
Made with stevia.
Yes, sir.
So I wasn't necessarily incorrect. The stevia's in there.
Well, yeah, but I'm drinking more than stevia.
Yeah, but I was wondering how the stevia itself was.
I don't know. My mouth doesn't really,
You can't separate?
Not really.
No.
Nope.
Well,
Is this your first one ever?
of
Zevia.
Zevia, yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think
What do you think?
It's not bad.
Yeah?
Yeah, it kind of tastes like a watered down Coke.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm. But I haven't drank like a regular soda in forever.
Yeah.
Like a full sugared soda, whatever you call them.
Yeah.
A non-zero, because I've only drank zero for at least a year or two, something. I don't know. Time eludes me, but this tastes pretty good. I like it.
I was in the store the other day, and I almost talked myself into buying a Mr. Pibb. And I was just thinking what the after effects would be like on that, because it would just probably wreck me.
Yeah.
Because that's probably, I mean, for me at least, one of the most highly carbonated sodas out there. And it would probably have just wrecked me, especially when I don't drink soda that often anyways.
Yeah.
It'd have been bad.
Yeah, probably. I don't do the taste anymore.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do it. So I am looking forward to a lot of the taste of Memorial Day festivities tomorrow. What are you doing for tomorrow? Tomorrow is Memorial Day in our
It is.
great country, United States.
We have a birthday party to go to, and then we are barbecuing. I think we're doing some fish and some pork steaks.
Really? You're barbecuing fish?
I don't think we're barbecuing fish.
Okay.
I think we're just having fish.
You're not grilling it?
I'm not doing it. We're not doing it here.
I got you. Okay.
So I don't know. We'll find out.
I got you.
I'd eat barbecue fish. I'm fine with that. Just seems weird. Is that a thing? People normally slap a tilapia on the grill, and
they must. I think it has to be a thing, right?
I don't know. I just normally do like either bake fish or do like a fish fry. That's normally how I eat fish.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't eat fish. I don't have a taste for fish, and
no fish at all.
No, I mean I eat it some just because I know it's good for me, but I can't stand it. I'll eat some salmon because it's supposed to be good for your brain, and I want to keep that.
Omega-3s and stuff.
Yeah. I do take fish oil every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a taste for seafood in general. The only thing I can really stomach is crab, and it's okay. It's nothing special, but it's okay. You know, it's I love crab meat rangoons. But those aren't the best for you. A lot of that cream cheese in there is just very, very
phenomenal.
Yes, exactly. Phenomenal was the word I was looking for. But no, I don't know what it is. What causes someone to have a taste for something? Like, is there any food that you just cannot stand? Anything that it makes you, like, you'd almost rather go hungry?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, like, outside of, like, just stuff that we're not used to kind of thing. Like, if you were to go to another country and eat, something random.
Like cat or something.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything out there that I just absolutely can't stand.
Okay. Well, seafood is that for me.
Really? Okay.
And I've really, when I was younger, I was picky for no reason, just because a lot of kids are like that, I guess, closed-minded. But as I got older, I started really branching out. Like, I used to not eat my vegetables at all growing up. Now I eat any vegetable almost, pretty much anything. Nothing grosses me out anymore, vegetable-wise.
Okay.
I tried seafood. I mean, I've really given it a shot. I still like to fish. I don't do it very often anymore, but I like to catch fish. I'm not going to eat them, though, because they're gross.
So you don't even like catfish either, do you?
No, that's one of the things I tried more recently, because I'm like, my family loves catfish. And I tried it not too awful long ago, and it's just, I think it's gross.
Huh.
It's gross.
Is it texture or is it taste?
The taste of the fish is
Huh.
gross. Yeah. Now, there is some texture involved when you get into things like shrimp, I think are disgusting.
I love shrimp.
Ugh. And clams and things like that are just, they just disgust me.
Yeah. I really like mussels, but the texture's really weird.
Yeah.
It's almost like a rubbery feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't have a, especially since I don't have a taste for it, the consistency is just, that's icing on the cake.
Yeah.
No way.
Right.
And there's another tuna. Like tuna, I can't get past the smell in the first place. I mean, there's something that it's completely like I'm prone to shun it. I don't know. It's a natural thing. I can't control it. I smell it and I'm just grossed out by it. It's so strange.
Yeah.
And, most fish, because I'll eat some salmon. Tilapia is probably one of the better fish for me to eat. It doesn't have that strong fishy taste. Catfish is one of the worst because it's super fishy taste.
Yeah.
And, salmon's kind of like in between for me. Some of the darker parts of the fish are a little fishier, and some of the lighter parts are more palatable for me. But yeah, I don't know. I do like the Memorial Day pork steaks, though.
Mm-hmm.
And the hamburgers and the brats and the dogs and the smokies that we discussed.
Yeah.
I grilled all of that yesterday already, honestly, and I'm going to grill some more tomorrow just because it's Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Why not? Corn on the cob. I love grilling corn on the cob.
Love corn on the cob.
And we had some mac and cheese because I'm a big fan of mac and cheese.
I love corn on the cob. Don't like what it does with my teeth, though. It gets stuck in there, but I tell you what, man, if you wipe a little bit of butter on it and put a little bit of salt on there, oh my God.
Yeah, I'm on it.
So good.
I like it. I know corn really has no nutritional value. It really doesn't do anything for the body. And if you think about it, it really doesn't have that much of a taste.
No, you're basically just tasting butter and
salt.
Yeah.
But it's good. Yeah, it's a good delivery system for butter and salt because you can't just sit there and eat butter and salt.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could, but it's not.
Why do we eat corn?
Why?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have much of a taste. There's no really nutritional value, and our body doesn't really digest it, right?
Yeah, but it's still, I guess it creates the feeling of satiation, satiety. What's the right word there?
Being full.
Yeah. It satiates.
Okay.
I know that word, but I can't think of how to use it in that. Anyway, yeah, it makes you feel full, I think.
Okay.
And for a lot of intents and purposes, nowadays, especially, we use it for in processing other foods. It's not good foods usually. Of course,
you know, like corn syrup and stuff.
Well, I mean, that's definitely not good for you, but
right.
Just with a lot of other things.
How do they make corn syrup out of corn?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
I wonder if corn syrup even has corn in it.
I wonder if, I don't know. Like if you squeeze a corn, you get corn syrup, kind of like orange juice.
Kind of like almond milk.
Yeah.
How do you get milk from an almond?
Well, I mean, first you got to find the nipples.
Yeah. Where are those?
I don't know.
Oh.
I've never been able to extract the milk. No, I don't know. I don't know how they process such things, but I know that we use corn also a lot now for animal feed.
Okay.
And it's actually causing a degradation of like the animal quality, the meats that we get.
Okay.
Because they don't really need to be eating all that corn. They need to be eating grass.
Gotcha.
Your cows and whatnot. They feed corn and grains, I guess. Is that what they feed the cows now? And it's
yeah, because wasn't it Jeff Huckett was telling us about like a lot of home brewers and stuff? Well, I guess even maybe bigger companies and stuff too will sell their spent grain to farmers and stuff to feed their cows. Yeah,
which is I mean, they're reusing it.
Yeah.
So in a recycling sense, that's a good thing, but in the sense of the quality of your meat, it's not so great. I've heard sides on both sides of the story of people who say that grain-fed cows
versus grass-fed
really doesn't make that big of a difference. But I've also heard people that say that we are ruining the cow by feeding it grain because it's supposed to eat grass. That's what they do. They graze.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know enough about it really to
I would
jump in on that.
I'm interested in it though. I mean, we've both probably just heard both sides,
Yeah.
but not really dove into it to find out like what's really like, I guess, to get a full decision, like make our own decision on what we think is better. I'm not sure. I mean, I know, like, of course, like steroids and stuff like that are put into, like, we know that that's not good.
Yes. It stands to reason, though. I agree. You need more information to make a well-informed decision. But it does make sense, though, that, like you said with the steroids, but also when they coop animals up, like they do it with chickens really badly, keep them in the little cages, and chickens are all deformed and gross. They do it with some cows, too. They keep them all in close quarters. Pigs do the same thing. They're all eating on each other's crap and whatnot. So those things are unhealthy. Animals are meant to, like, graze the fields. Mm-hmm. So it does make sense to me that you are altering in a sense, I guess, the genetic makeup of the animals by feeding them something that they didn't naturally start eating.
Right.
So if a cow is supposed to eat grass, then I think that when you deviate from that, you're altering the cow in some form or another, and therefore it's probably not going to be so good because it's not how nature intended. That's my logic. So I kind of, just from intuition, that makes a lot of sense to me.
But did nature intend for us to eat the cow?
Well, I think so.
Think so?
I have canine teeth used for tearing meat. If I wasn't supposed to tear meat, I wouldn't have evolved with those canine teeth that I have.
But then is that a nature thing, though? Because you evolved to do it.
Evolution is nature, absolutely. And maybe cows will evolve to, like, thrive off of grain. Maybe we'll have super cows, and they won't they'll come cooked already. Like you push a button on the cow's ass, and it I don't know. Evolution can do some crazy things, but who knows? I don't know. But for now, it makes sense that maybe through that process, that grain-fed cows aren't really the most healthy thing.
Okay.
I don't know this, though. I love my pork steaks. And I know that pig really isn't the healthiest animal to eat either, because they're so dirty and gross.
I feel like there's more of a push in the recent years of a lot of people getting away from eating pig.
Yeah.
Pigs are supposed to be really smart.
Yeah.
I don't know if that should come into play for people or not, when people eat pig all the time.
Yeah.
But I have heard that argument a lot, that, like, pigs are really smart, like smarter than dogs and stuff, but we keep dogs as pets and we eat pigs, kind of that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I just feel like over the past couple of years, it's been more of a push for people getting away from eating bacon and stuff. I mean, not only it's probably not healthy anyways.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know, because I've seen that. Have you seen that billboard where it says, "Where do you draw the line?" And it shows, like, a dog and a cat and other domesticated animals, and then it's got, like, a pig and a cow, all the things that we eat.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you choose? I don't know. I mean, I know a pig and a cow and chicken's pretty tasty.
Yeah.
I don't know how tasty a dog is, or a cat, or whatever. Just because we domesticated them, though, I mean, that's why we don't eat them, because we brought them in.
Right.
We for the most part, at least, we haven't brought in pigs and cows into our homes and domesticated them to where they become part of the family. They integrate in such a way. And there's some of those gray area animals too, like a goat. And some people do eat goat. Not so much in this country. In Afghanistan, I hear goat soup's a really big thing.
Really?
That's what I hear. But it seems weird to want to eat a goat. It's like, have you ever eaten lamb? You ever eaten lamb?
Like lamb chops?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? Are they any good?
Okay.
I've had lamb.
Not my favorite, but... I
had lamb once when I was a kid. I think it was only once. Maybe twice tops. Don't remember how good it was or how much I didn't like it. I don't remember either way.
Well, I mean... It's weird to think that, like, back in the day, like when we started eating chickens and stuff like that, why were some animals what we chose to eat and not others?
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm getting to. The process to choose, I don't know how that started in the first place, but I know some animals I think they're just, the way they're built, they're probably naturally better to eat.
Gotcha.
Cows have a lot of meat on them.
Yeah, true.
They're big and they're fat. Buffalo bison, same way. Cows' cousins.
True.
They grew up pretty close in the same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good for eating. And bison and buffalo is even better for you because it's leaner meat.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Tastes good.
You know that meme that comes across every once in a while that says, like, the guy who found out that
milk.
Milk came from cows was a freak.
Yeah.
I always think it always kind of makes me chuckle, but then it kind of makes me like really grossed out. So it's like, how did somebody find that and figure out that it's something we drink?
I've thought about that a lot, actually, not just with milk, but with everything, like the plants. It had to have been a long process of trial and error.
Yeah.
And how many people ended up like sick and dead because they tried something that ended up not being good.
Right.
But they also, I think that there was a process of being able to determine a type, like a type of like certain poisonous leaves kind of have the same similar traits. And so if this leaf has the same trait as another leaf that we know is poisonous, then we don't want to eat that one. And so just humankind learned how to detect
in other words,
certain
what you're
things.
saying is we don't need to be smoking poison ivy.
It's not good. It's not good for your lungs. I mean, it's a free country. You do what you want. And last I heard, it was not illegal to smoke poison ivy, but I would not try it. Just because it's not legal does not make it a good idea. Just because it is legal, the opposite too. Whatever that was. I got lost. At any rate, looking forward to Memorial Day, spending time with the fam, and so just for this episode, we thought about talking about family for a while, what it means for us individually to have families. Your family's getting ready to grow. You're going to +1 here in just a couple of months, really, 3 months. Your wife just passed into her 3rd trimester.
She did.
How you feeling about it?
A little more nerve-wracking.
Yeah. It's getting real.
To think that we're under 13 weeks until he's here. That is if he goes, full term.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if that's going to, I don't know how that's going to happen yet because, so our doctor that we use is part of a group of 4 other women doctors, and they don't necessarily, like, just because we have this doctor through the whole thing doesn't mean that she is going to be the one that delivers. So they're actually on a rotation every week, and depending on what day you go into labor, that's the person you get to deliver.
Right.
Which we're fine with. It's a little, it's not unnerving, but it's kind of unnerving because it's like, you got to know this one person for the last 9 months, and then if at the last second they're not the one that delivers,
Yeah.
More for my wife's sake, it would be like, just kind of not, I don't know, just a little unnerving, I guess.
I get that.
But our doctor is in St. Louis, so I'm hoping that since we're that far away, that she can like set us up to maybe induce early or induce at a time where she can be there. That way we don't have to worry about the whole process of possibly going into labor while we're here, then driving all the way up there and her not being on call or, not being there and having to have somebody else do it. So I'm hoping that things go well. Things have gone well up to this point. So we haven't had any issues up to this point.
Yeah.
So that's a plus. Like I said, it's getting a little more nervous, a little bit. But we will see how things play out in the next 12 weeks.
The process of being pregnant, as in the wife being pregnant, and leading up to having the baby, a completely anxiety-provoking time for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like obviously I'm not just pins and needles the whole time, but I'm just so concerned because it's the fear of the unknown, all that. After the fact, you have this little baby, this brand new thing that feels like it's so fragile that you don't want to, you don't want to look at it the wrong way. You don't want to break it.
Mm-hmm.
And also anxiety-provoking, nerve-wracking. And looking back, though, it's all very sweet times.
Mm-hmm.
It's all like this development of life and how life is going to transpire and how this child's going to grow up and how there's a saying, I'm sure I read it on a meme, but basically this person said, I didn't realize that my parents were growing up when I was growing up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And that's really the case. It's like we're all just still growing up together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, me being, the age that I am now, I still feel like I'm still learning so much and growing so much. I'm growing with my kids as they're growing up. I'm still growing up too.
Yeah. Well, it's something kind of along those lines. It shocked me when I really thought about it, like, I don't know, it's probably 5 years ago. It really clicked with me when I thought about, like, one of my teachers, like my middle school teacher, was like 22 years old when I was in that class.
Yeah.
And then, thinking about what I was like when I was 22 years old, there's no way that I would be in front of I should be teaching children.
Uh-huh.
It was really weird to me when that clicked, that I was like, holy crap, my teacher was like 22 when I was, 10.
Yeah.
And teaching me. And then now I'm, 10 years older than that teacher was back when I was in middle school. It's just so weird.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you look at it from the perspective of your memory, you're this kid looking up at this person. They seem like they're so much older.
Right.
And then you get to that age, you're like, wow, that person was actually a kid still.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And I'm at the age now to where I reflect back how old my dad was when he was this age, where we were at when he was this age, and just what was going on in life. And I look back and I just remember he was always this, I put him up on a pedestal, always have, but he was just this behemoth of a person, not size-wise, but just in his stature, not his physical stature, but his personality and his work and everything was just huge to me. I'm that age now, and I remember looking at him when he was this age and thinking he was an old dude, and now I'm the old dude, but I'm not, though, at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I am all the way grown up. And I think we reflect, at least personally, I reflect mostly on that within my family. Because I can remember certain ages where I was at, and remember my mom the same way, comparing where I was at that point in time, remembering when she was that old, and it's like, wow, because our parents they just seem like they're old to us. And I try to do that with my kids too. Like, I look at my daughter who's 12, and I remember when I was 12 and where I was at in life and what I was doing, what I was thinking. That helps me in a lot of ways, because I try to connect some dots there and try to keep up and track with what might be going on so that I can give the direction and guidance as needed. But it's kind of weird how we bounce off each other like that.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because my mom was 33 whenever I was born. So I just turned 33 a couple weeks ago, or last week, I guess. So I'll be the same age, so to look at like where my parents are now and the age compared to the age I am, and thinking that's going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
And then also my cousin was born 5 months before me. No, 6 months before me. And then they're having a child 2 months before we are. And then they've got one that's like a year old right now.
Wow.
So it's just interesting that like we're having kids so close together, and that, the whole age thing is interesting too, just to think about how things have gone up till now.
What is the most important concept or component of family to you? Can you narrow it down? What is it about family? And we'll start with a nuclear family, the father, mother, and child, or whatever the situation is. For us, it was father, mother, child.
Okay.
Father, mother, children. What's the most important part of that family to you? Like what did you get out of your family that you want to make sure that you pass on to your child when he gets here with you and your wife? Can you narrow it down to anything?
I don't know if I can. Give me your example first. Do you have one?
It's really off the top of my head, because the question just kind of occurred to me. But I have to think, one of the things that sticks out, it might not even be the most important, but it's the thing that comes to me first, is sticking together. It's
okay,
like,
so bond was what was clicking in my head.
Okay.
So I would, it's kind of go back to the term like blood is thicker than water, that kind of thing. It's that.
Yeah. For me, I know that even if I did something that was wrong, that was, way off base, and really I don't have much excuse, I know that my family still has my back, regardless.
Yeah.
We've always made that clear with each other, beginning with my dad while he was still with us, and It's just the way it is. Like, you just stick up for your family no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. Those are the people that you know for sure that you can trust. And I understand it's not like that maybe with every family.
And it's definitely not.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to dive into anything, but
Yeah.
I mean, you know the situation with our families, like my wife's family and my family. There's a big difference between our bond between her family and ours.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure. So every family is not created that way. But I'm sure there are probably other strengths that other people could point out that sticks out to them more than, than the sticking together part that I have. Different families have different strengths, I think. But that's definitely the big one for me. I always want to make sure that my kids know that as well, that no matter what, it's like, I'm going to come hell or high water.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you're in trouble or if you did something stupid, we'll talk about that later. But in the meantime, if there's anything, that I've got to face and protect you from, then that's going to be my first priority.
Mm-hmm.
Always making sure they know that is a thing. I think that's one of the biggest things about family that I want to make sure that I can pass along.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The bond is definitely something big too. It's like family. Once again, not everybody bonds the same way, but I think if you have the opportunity, having that bond is really important. And I have that, especially now that I'm older. I had it with my dad before he passed, and I have it with my mom. A bond that as I got older, I started to get things. It's like, oh yeah, now I get it. I get why you did this and that, and
right.
why you have this perspective, and we had that connection, more of an adult connection. It's still parent-child, but it's an adult parent, adult child connection that you don't have until you kind of hit that level of maturity. Always had that connection with my sisters. With my older sister growing up, we had a connection. We fought a lot because we were only 3 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
My younger sister, we didn't fight so much because she was 7.5 years younger than me. She was my little buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And we had that connection, but not as much as even what we do now. It's like now we're very tight.
Mm-hmm.
And so that bond is super important to have. Just knowing that you have somebody in life that you can do that with. And I don't take it for granted because, once again, I know everybody doesn't have that opportunity.
Right. And I think about that too because, my wife is 35. So she's not really considered high risk or anything, but if she could be if we were to decide we wanted to have another kid. Mm-hmm. But we're also in that Goldilocks zone right now where it's like, if we have this kid and we decide we want another one, we can't really wait that long before we try to do it again.
Right.
We haven't really made that decision yet on what we want to do, but it's an easy decision to make if you think about you want 2 kids. If you just want 2 kids, then you need to get on it. But it's also not the easiest decision to make because we haven't been parents yet, and we wouldn't be parents very long before we would have to make a decision. We need to be parents again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So it's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
To think about. So we're probably gonna have a decision to make pretty soon.
Yeah. You're gonna have to make it pretty much not based on the experience of being a parent.
I know. Yeah.
You're just gonna have to make it on other factors.
Which, I mean, if you look across the board, most people, at least in our crowd of people, most people will say, even if they have 3 kids, there's a lot of them will say, I could have 5 if I could, or, something along those lines. Like,
yeah,
I don't think I know of anyone that would ever tell me you're going to regret having a second one. I think, especially, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
I get it.
Just you know what I'm saying? Like everybody would tell me that you'd never regret having a second one.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. It's just, when you're first pregnant and you don't know if, like, there's a possibility there's more than one in there. One of those things before you've actually went and had the ultrasound done and stuff.
Yeah.
That's nerve-wracking. Well, it's kind of like we're kind of in the same concept there where not necessarily twins, but you're looking at, a year to a year and a half difference at the most between 2 kids if you're, looking to have another one soon.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know. That almost to me makes me more nervous than having the first one.
Yeah. I don't know. I would think the worst part from, this is just me thinking here, talking out loud, thinking out loud. But I would think the worst part would be Becky having to go through it right away again, through pregnancy. And she doesn't seem like she's having too rough of a time with this pregnancy.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, she's been gangster through this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, she hasn't, she doesn't complain or about anything. She hasn't had, part of it is the fact that she just hasn't really had any issues. It's just a matter of being uncomfortable. That's like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But like I said, she's being a gangster through the whole thing. She has, for not ever being pregnant before. And this being a completely new experience that she's never been through before. She's doing really, really well with it.
She seems like it. And so that would be my biggest concern is just the wear and tear on her. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, man, as far as I'm concerned, you know how I feel about kids, though. I say go for it.
Yeah. I just want to point out, I don't know that you should ever say wear and tear on them again. I feel like she wouldn't like that, and I feel like most women wouldn't like that.
I don't know. I'm not trying to make it sound like a car, but it's, it is what it is. It's
they got a few miles on them. It's okay.
Being pregnant does things to the body. It's hard on them, so there is some wear and tear. I'm going to say it again. There's some things that happen. There's some wear that happens on the body that I don't have to go through because, I don't have that predisposition of having a uterus.
Yeah, true.
And I do, I feel for women because I can see how it changes their body. But the end result, from my perspective, once again, is totally worth it because I love the kids. Mm-hmm. I really do. Even though my kids sometimes are a chore, they're a pain in the butt. If I'm being honest, sometimes they're always totally worth it. Always, even during the hard times, they're still totally worth it. And a lot of it's about problem solving. Trying to decide what's the best intervention, the best thing to do to redirect them to a healthier, more productive set of behaviors and lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So right now, just both of my kids are grounded, both of them at the same time for separate reasons, completely separate reasons. And I'm having to figure out how to give them the best direction and guidance during this time. Because oftentimes, we're all we stay busy. We're going 90 to nothing in a lot of ways. And this is an opportunity for us to slow things down a little bit, figure out the best way to go from here, And
it's a little more rough on you, too, because we're out of school now, too,
yeah,
right?
Right.
So you've got to figure out, I feel like the grounding process is harder during the summer than it is throughout the school.
Yeah.
Like the school year, because in school year, they're in school during the day.
Right.
Then they just had to be basically grounded in the evening.
Yeah.
Now you have to keep them grounded. And I'm not saying your kids would try to purposely do anything against the grounding, but if they wanted to, it would be easier for them to do that during the summer when you're at work or something like that than during the school year.
Yeah, it's safe to say they're going to consider doing something against the grounding. That's because they're my children. But yeah, it's also just them being grounded. My girl, she's 12. She's always wanted to be doing something. She's a socialite, right? So she loves hanging out with friends, going places, having friends over. She's always doing something. So when she's grounded, she doesn't have anything to do, and so that falls back on me, and it becomes a little more of it's a duty that I have to pick up on more now because I love spending time with my kids, but I also like doing a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And with her being grounded, she needs a lot of my attention right now because she can't go out with her friends and she still has that drive. She always wants to be doing something. Mm-hmm. Well, she can't do much right now because she's grounded, but it falls on me not just to, placate her while she's grounded because I'm her father and I have to give oversight. I see it still as an opportunity for me as a time to instill something, some positive influence, to continue to instill and to reflect on why she's grounded in the first place and to try not to repeat that behavior again, but also to pick up on some, or pick up where we left off on some hobbies that, like I mentioned to you earlier. I redesigned our playroom, got rid of most of the toys that they never play with. They're 12 and 9 now anyway. Mm-hmm. Kayla's kind of she's definitely growing out of the baby doll stage. She's starting to get more and more out of the Barbie stage as well. And so, and Jeremiah, he doesn't really care so much about a lot of toys. He's into devices. So was able to take out all those toys, put them in the shed for now. I'm going to donate them or yard sale them or something down the road. And I've redesigned the playroom as more of an arts and crafts room. Okay, so I went and got a bunch of canvases, some acrylic paints, a whole thing of just different kinds of paint brushes, things like that. All the stuff you can use artwork with, and we're going to start redirecting our focus into art to see how much we can, because Kayla already loves to paint. So does Jeremiah.
Sounds to me like we're gonna have a corks and canvases night. Can't wait.
Corks and canvases.
Haven't you heard of those? Those painting classes where
they drink wine,
go in, drink wine, and they have like a guide during it that tells them what to do and how to paint and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I feel bad that I knew what they were called.
Yeah, I feel bad for you because it's like, oh gosh, here we go. Next, you're gonna start talking about the last Lifetime movie you watched. How sad it was.
It definitely had. What's his name? Who was Superman? What's his name?
Christopher Reeves was Superman.
No, the other one. Oh, come on. He's in like every Lifetime movie.
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
No,
yes,
I really don't.
This is going to drive me insane.
Okay, look it up. But
why can't I just posted a pic or something about him the other day.
You talking about the guy from like Smallville? Is that him?
No. That's about Superman.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about where is he? Dean Cain.
Dean Cain.
Yes. He also did Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah.
The show.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
now.
yeah. He's in like every Lifetime movie.
Where was he Superman though?
In the TV show?
Wasn't that Smallville?
No.
No.
That's a show about Superman.
We're not getting anywhere here.
Or wait, maybe it was Lois and Clark.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in the show Lois and Clark.
Okay. Also about
which is also Clark
Superman.
Kent. Who is doesn't that ring a bell?
I know who he is.
I know, but that picture
No.
of him as Superman? No, man.
No.
Huh.
No. At any rate, though, what we're gonna do with our playroom, though, I'm gonna give it a new paint. It still has that crappy yellow that came with the house, but we're going to take those canvases and it's going to be a gallery of our art.
Okay.
So making a project out of it, and
nice.
They're involved. And anyway, big part of having kids, especially, but having a family in general, I think is about problem solving.
Okay.
Problem solving and given the positive redirection when needed to try and steer the youngsters in the right direction.
Which, I mean, a lot of people don't do that. I mean, a lot of people think grounding is you go stay in your room for days, and then whenever your grounding's over, then we come out.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I got whipped a little bit when I was a kid, but not much. It had to be something really big for that to happen. I know that's against a lot of people's policies these days.
Yeah.
I don't know if I am or not. I think sometimes it is needed to get a point across, especially when a kid's younger.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also the fact, like, I think when they get a little older, it's like they knew they were doing something wrong. So just because you beat their ass doesn't necessarily change anything. I mean, it tells them, yeah, I don't want to get my ass beat again.
Right.
But they knew there were risks involved whenever they did the stupid thing in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. And I think it depends on the kid too. I think it does. I'm not saying beat your kid all the time. I'm not saying don't beat your kid. You do you. I'm not going to, if I see somebody in a store whip their kid's butt, I'm not going to say anything about it. Some people will.
Yeah.
Some people are against it completely.
I
think it's child abuse. I don't know. What do you think? Where do you fall on that?
It's a crazy topic because I think that spanking children as we knew it, I caught 2 spankings. I was just talking about this yesterday. I caught 2 spankings my entire life.
Okay.
And because I learned my lesson, that lesson was to be a lot sneakier about and not get caught. Don't do things overtly. Don't be, directly rebellious to your parents. Sneak around and do it, and then have some really good excuses when you do get caught,
right.
and learn to use sense of humor. Dude, I used every tool that I had that I could muster, in order to stay away from getting a whipping, because my dad would whip you if you needed to. He was old school. And it seems like every generation, the whippings got a little bit lighter. Like I've heard stories from not in my family, but my friend's family, who the grandpa, the patriarch at that time, who's now passed on, he used to whip the boys with a razor strap, whatever that is. It doesn't sound pleasant at all.
It doesn't.
But they knew they didn't want to get whipped with that thing, and so they straightened up. But the process of getting whipped with something like that just seems a little much,
Yeah.
And then the process of getting whipped with a belt, which was more common when I was growing up. Sometimes the buckle got involved, not in my family, but sometimes the buckle would get involved, and that caused some damage. I couldn't imagine hitting my kids with a belt buckle. That just seems like it's too far to me. And I think there's a time where, for me personally, a slap on the hand, if they're about to do something to catch their attention, I think that's fine. I think that even maybe a swat on the leg, just get their attention, let them know, hey, you're going to get in trouble for this. Don't do that. I think that's appropriate. For me personally, I've never been a fan of just spanking for the sake of spanking. For one thing, most of the time spanking, in my experience and from my perspective, it's done out of anger almost. So
it's more of the parent getting their frustration out than it is the kid, like, trying to teach the kid a lesson.
Right, and I think there's something just inherently counterproductive about that. I don't think it's good for kids to get hit anyway, don't get me wrong. But I'm like you, if I see a parent swat their kid on the leg, I don't think twice about it. Even if I know that the kid catches, a whipping, sometimes I really don't put too much thought into it, to be honest with you. I don't see it as overtly, but I think the line there, it's pretty, I don't know, it's a pretty jaded line. It's pretty hard to really to put a finger on where the line is when you cross into child abuse.
Right. Yeah,
Assault.
I always thought the weirdest one to me was like paddling in school, like that a principal had the right to do that. Some parents are for that because, and I don't know if I'm sure minds have changed over the years, but like back when I was in school, some parents, like a lot of parents were for that because it's like, okay, well, we have somebody else who can enforce authority over our kid when we can't be there with the kid, kind of thing, right? Not that you think that is needed or should happen. Like, you want your kid to be a perfect angel when they're at school, of course. But, if I can't be there, somebody else needs to be there to let them know they're doing something wrong or something like that. I get that. But it still always was weird to me because it's like, if anybody's going to whip me, it's going to be my dad or my mom. I'm not... It's just weird to me that anybody else would do that. And it triggered that something kind of like that with me. The show Mad Men. There's a scene, and we're talking about the 60s anyways, so things were a lot different then. But there's a scene where like the kids are running through the house, but they're having like a big party at the house, where barbecuing in the backyard and everything. Well, kids are running through the house and everything. One of the kid like knocks over a vase or something like that, and one of the other dads grabs the kid and smacks the kid, and then the other dad's there and just sees him do it and was like, yeah, heck yeah, that's how things go. I would never ever do that. Even I could be at my best friend's house and their kids could do something really bad, and I'm still going to just let the parent know, hey, this is what he just did, and let them discipline how they want to do it. It is not on me to even look at the kid wrong. You know what I'm saying? But the funny thing is they would be like, no, dude, smack his ass. If he did something wrong and he knows it, Yeah. So I don't know. It's just, I've always felt weird about somebody else that's not a parent enforcing anything like that.
So I'm kind of in between. I would never grant that anyone else put their hand on my child, whip the child specifically. But if my kid's doing something and you catch them, I'm okay with anybody letting them know, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. Because if they might just think, not that my kids necessarily would do this, but just kids in general, they might just think that, well, because dad's not watching, I can get by with murder, and I don't want them to think that way. Because once again, it's not just about what's like ethically right; it's about what's productive for them. And if they have that mindset, then that's not going to do them any justice in the future. That's the way that I think about it.
Yeah.
So if you catch my kids doing something that they shouldn't be doing, trying to start a fire in the house or, whatever, running with scissors, I don't know, whatever it might be, I don't mind if you redirect them at all, because if they are running with scissors and you don't stop them, they trip and fall and stab themselves. I'd be like, hey, Colt, where were you on that one, buddy? You could have helped me avoid this. Just for example, though, aside from there actually being any kind of imminent harm, I do think it's appropriate to do that. When appropriate, because it takes a village to raise a kid. I think that's actually the old saying. Yeah, is where it comes from. So it really does. And so when you have now, if it's somebody if it's some stranger's kid, I'm not, or some stranger with my kid. Let me put it back on me, because not everybody's going to agree with the way that I see this. But some stranger that tells my kid they shouldn't be doing something, I'm a little more cautious about that. Like I'm going to look at it, and if it's appropriate, if it's an older person especially, and as long as they're doing it with a certain amount of tact, I'm still not going to care, because what's right is right. Now, if it's somebody who's being a douche, then I'm going to go and I'm going to at least verbally attack that douche. Yeah. If I need to, right? Because I'm not going to let somebody, do that to my kid.
Right. Man, I remember back when it was like second grade, we had a kid who always was doing something, always getting in trouble. But the bad thing was his grandpa worked as a custodian at the school, and all the teacher would have to do is go to his grandpa and tell him what he's doing. And all of a sudden, the teacher would just let the kid out the door, and then you'd see him about 5 minutes later come back in with tears in his eyes because his grandpa took him in the closet and beat the crap out of him and came back into class. Yeah. And he always was still causing trouble. Like, he never was scared of it. Huh. I guess he just thought, I'm going to do what I want. It's just going to hurt my butt a little bit.
It's better, and I face this with my kids, it's better to ask for forgiveness later than it is to ask for permission now.
Right.
Or it's better to suffer the consequences than to not do this thing that I want to do. Right. I don't know if that's driven mostly by impulse or if there's actually some decision-making process that's going on there where the child really thinks, I'm okay with the consequence because I'm going to do this thing. I don't know, but I hate. I am glad that schools don't paddle anymore, because I wouldn't allow it with my kids. I wouldn't want anybody else paddling my child. Right. If there's something that needs to be dealt with, please let me know, and because I expect the school too.
Well, the interesting thing with that too is that you don't know, and you may never get the full story of what actually happened. Right. So you don't, even if you are okay with your kid being paddled for something they did wrong, the situation may not be near as wrong as they say it is, because they wanted to paddle your kid for something. There
may be an injustice. There may be misinformation. The kid really wasn't guilty, but was found guilty.
And more times than not, there's more than one kid involved in the scenario, and then it's a he said, she said battle. Right. And there's a very hairy line there.
And plus, there's politics involved. In every school, there's always the favorites, I guess you could say, the people the kids who have parents as teachers, or the parent who is a sheriff, or the parent who's somebody big in town, and so they're the ones who play sports, the ones who are good at sports. So the politics also. I'm not going to allow you to I'm not going to allow those things to be in play, and you have the power to whip my kid. Right. That's not going to happen, and it never would happen. But when I was a kid, paddling was still a thing. I never called it paddling.
Yeah, I didn't either.
There was actually a kid in. By the time I got to the certain school, there was a kid that was injured in a paddling, and so in that school system itself, there was no paddling anymore. Wow. Because of the lawsuit, they had to stop. Wow. So that was something. Yeah. And I've heard horror stories about kids getting paddled, especially from back in the day.
You mentioned the politics. I was just telling my wife about this the other day, and this isn't a knock at anybody, any friends or anything like that, but just like any other school, my kid's going to go to the school that I went to, that I grew up. I went kindergarten through senior year all at the same school. My kid's going to go to the same school as I did. And that was something I wanted. That's something my wife wanted. It's a good school. And there are very good teachers, very good staff. And it's one of those, it's a decent sized school, but it's small enough that it's got its own culture, and the people who have been put in positions, like after retiring, like say the principal retires, somebody else that went to that school gets put in that position most of the time. There's teachers that I actually went to school with. I said that wrong. People that I went to school with are teachers
now
at
teachers,
the school and stuff like that,
Right.
So it's people that I trust, the people that I've known forever, that I went to school with back in the day and stuff like that. So I like those kind of things. But when politics comes into play, a lot of that, just like any other school, has to do with a last name, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have this last name, you're going to be a starter. You're going to be this, that, or the other. You're going to be a name in the school.
Yeah.
A lot of that's gone away. And a lot of the people that I went to school with that had a name, they already have kids that are in the school system that are going to be well above where my kid's at by the time that my kids get to that school. Like they're probably going to be in high school by the time that my kids start school. And I like that.
Yeah.
Because those names are gone. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Don't you think there'll be other names though?
there may be.
By then?
There may be, but I'm happier with seeing other names
Than
the names that have
that
always
you had to deal
the
with.
names that I had to deal with,
Yeah.
and the names that have always walked through the halls. You know what I'm
I
saying?
can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not a knock at anybody. It's just the name's there, and you, just like any other school, you have the name. You've
Yeah.
already got the upper hand
Yeah.
in anything that you do.
Right.
So I think there may be other names, but it's different names
Mm-hmm.
that I have to deal with now. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, that kind of politics. Of course, our kids are going to where their mom went to school because I moved around, and so I really didn't. I wouldn't advise any of the schools that I went to for my kids anyway. She went through K through 12 in the school where they're at now. So she knows, like you said, a lot of the people who she went to school with are now teachers, and so on and so forth, principals, counselors, things like that. And she also knows a lot of the people, the families there, and so there's just this. It's more of a cohesion. It's kind of like a big neighborhood come together, as opposed to going some school where you didn't grow up, where you didn't have that cohesion at all, and it's just a bunch of basically you're putting your kid into a different culture that you don't know so much about. I think that's important. I like that. But there is still of course the names. The name recognition is still huge. Makes me want to probably join the school board or run for. I guess you got to get elected for school board. Do something like that though, just to inject my name in there. Now, of course I do meet her. Well, my boy and my girl. I meet their teachers. Make sure that they know who I am, my name, my number, call me anytime. I try to make my presence known as much as possible, just to have that facial recognition, just so they know that I'm there. I try to make my presence known as much as possible, but I kind of want to maybe run for school board or something. That's
Really?
totally not me. It's like, I guess it could be. I just want to make sure that I am involved in something, some way, shape, or form, the process of school, just so they have at least a little bit of something of the Wade name in there that might help them out in some way or another. I don't know.
Yeah.
Makes me want to do something to actively involve myself in the process, because this is their education. It's pretty stinking important.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know that that's a route that I would. Maybe I'll change my mind, later on down the road, but
Yeah.
not necessarily something, because then it kind of makes you a name, right? Like you don't want the politics of other people's names, but you kind of want to be a name, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be a name. I don't know.
Honestly, it's for the sake of the kid.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not for me. I don't care if the school system knows who I am so much, but
Right.
for my kid's sake, I want to make sure I have some kind of influence one way or the other. And I'm not saying this is going to happen for sure, but it's something I'm definitely pondering.
Yeah.
Especially by the time they start getting into high school, which I got to get on the ball, because she's getting, she's going into middle school this year.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'm contemplating, just because I don't. The reason why I don't like the whole name thing, which it's not my game. I don't. The game already existed of having name recognition in a school.
Yeah.
It's not something that I'm trying to influence. It's already there. So you can either just let that go unabated, or you can jump in there and put your hat in the ring and see if you can't be part of that influence too, for
Right.
for the sake of your kids.
Yeah. I've also heard I am friends with people who have the in on what the politics are like in like school board and stuff like that, and it does not seem like a fun
No, I'm sure it's not.
situation. Especially when those names are butting heads with each other in the school board, trying, and I just think a lot of times it's not about the kids anymore. It's about ego and stuff like that. I think that comes into a play a lot, which I know that's anything, in life, but when it's a situation like that, when it should be about the kids and, progress for the kids and things like that.
The education.
Yeah. All the other stuff should be out the window. It should just be find a common ground on what's best for the kids.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times it doesn't end up that way.
I'm sure it doesn't, but in most things in life, I am the mediator of things, and so I would assume that I would also try and take that role as well in a position like that, because to be honest with you, I don't know how much my ego would depend on the education system. It's just not where my priorities, not my priorities, but it's not where my ambitions lie. It's to make a name in the school system. The only reason I would do it, and I'm sure I would jump out unless it's something really, happened to where I really gravitated to the process. But I'm sure I would bounce as soon as my kids were out of school. The main reason I'm doing it is just once again to make sure that I'm involved intimately in the process of the education system, where they are getting their education from, because it's very important.
Yeah.
Especially, my son's in special education, and I just want to make sure they have every benefit. No, I'm not even sure I'd have the vantage point as being a school board member, but I think that's probably the only avenue I could take. Because what else do you have? I'm not a teacher. I'm not a principal, or I'm not a school counselor. So really, just trying to get into the politics of it may be the only avenue I might have.
Yeah, but if you were going to do that with that school, you have a big sea of people to go through to do that.
Yeah.
Me, on the other hand, wouldn't be that big. Like my school was decent sized, I guess, but not big enough to where like all the seniors didn't know all the freshmen and vice versa.
Yeah.
The school you're talking about was like, if how many think there's a graduating class at that school?
I have no idea.
Hundreds.
Yeah, definitely hundreds.
If not more. I think I had 76 in my class.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like the small. It's not like the smallest school around here by any means, but I like the aspect of it being a close, tight knit.
Definitely a smaller environment to work with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simplifies things, but some of the things you do for your family, right? You make
Sure,
those
yeah.
considerations. Your consideration was keeping the little man in a smaller school system, a little more tight knit, and our consideration on my end was to put the kids in a school system that was familiar as well, to their mother mostly, and then my consideration of maybe involving myself in school politics just to make sure that I'm somehow intimately involved in the educational process for them. These are the type of considerations that we just make, because family is so important. We are raising little human beings that are one day going to grow up to be big human beings. They're going to be like grown-ups. And we have, like we talked about just here recently, we're like the major influence on them. We are not the only influence on them, but we are, I think, the primary influence on them. And I don't want to look back and think, man, I really screwed that one up. It's like, wow, that was a mistake on my part. Like I really blew that one. This child grew up to be a terrible adult.
Yeah. Well, they say that, like, if anybody who has more than one kid, they're like, the first one's always like a test run. You make mistakes with the first one and stuff like that. It's just, and then, you learn from experience when it comes to that. So maybe I do have to have two just in case the first one's a major mess up.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I should just stick with the one and just make sure that I make as good a choice as I can possibly make with him.
Yeah, and you've got a village here too to help you take care of your kid.
True.
You got your parents and whatnot. That's going to come in very handy. Their insight and experience is going to come in handy as well. But I'd say the two major components that I would think of as far as having one or more kids is it would be nice to have one that you could just focus on. You give all your attention to that kid. That would be nice. But having two or more kids, they grow up together, and there's something that's really cool about that too. Having siblings, they learn from each other. They watch out for each other. So it's a pretty cool experience too.
Mm-hmm.
I think either way, there is no wrong answer.
Right.
But both ways. I mean, the kid's going to get more attention, more stuff too. Doesn't have to share Christmas presents with the sibling, but I don't think that at least for the most part, when you have a sibling, you don't regret it. I know I didn't. I never did. I grew up with pretty tightly with my sisters, and so be interested to see what final decision is.
Yeah.
So we'll find out soon, huh? Clock's ticking.
I guess. I have a feeling fate's going to take over at some point.
It's probably true. Probably true.
And life's just going to happen one way or the other.
Yep.
So we'll see.
All right, man.
All right.
Family's what's up. Family's important.
Family is what's up.
That's right. So.
Yeah. Peace.